No, kochani, witajcie, witajcie. Oh, what am I speaking? I'm speaking Polish right now. That's funny. I forgot. I switched to English. Listen, guys, it is time to talk about freedom. That's right. Fear to Freedom is my channel. And the reason why I chose this is because I realized that the key, the only one key to a personal happiness where a person lives on their terms, when they have the life that they want to have, when they die and they're thinking about the life that they had, they will have no regrets only if one thing and one thing only gets resolved. And that's fear. Fear. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Why is it that so many witnesses are so afraid of even to think, even to question, to live on their terms, what caused it, and how we can get out of this mindset once we leave. Welcome, all of you. I'm glad that you could join me. Listen, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, we actually believed that we were free. No question about it. Who wants to be a slave? Come on now. Who's afraid of freedom? Everybody wants to be free. Nobody wants to be a slave, for crying out loud. Nobody wants even the person watching them all the time, telling them what to do, whether it's at work or at home or with anybody. We all want to be free. We all want to have that feeling that that was our decision, that what we do is because of our choices. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses actually talk about freedom quite a bit. They're saying they're free from a lot of things that this world is suffering from. For example, a lot of people are afraid of hell. And Jehovah's Witnesses never accepted that doctrine, so they freed people from that fear. And I have to agree. I was never afraid of hell because I was raised as a witness, and I don't think I ever will. And that's because the teaching that I learned from them. If I were a Catholic like my father, maybe I would be afraid of hell. I don't know. So there were certain things that we felt like, oh yeah, we're free from this. We're free from maybe the burden of holidays. Some people felt the holidays were a burden, that you have to spend so much money on gifts. People felt forced that they have to buy gifts for their family members and friends. They have to celebrate certain holidays that they maybe were not excited about. And Jehovah's Witnesses free them from it. Really? Seriously? The only time when you actually are free is when you are the one making a choice without any worry, without any fear of consequences. So if Jehovah's Witnesses really valued freedom, they would tell you, well, it's up to you whether you want to celebrate birthdays or not. That's up to you. We can maybe warn you about certain, bad association, or getting drunk, or I don't know, whatever. But it's ultimately your choice. And if you choose to go one route or the other, we're not going to criticize you or make any anything bad towards you. That's freedom. That's when you actually state your opinion, when you tell another person what you think about this, and you might warn them about consequences, but ultimately it's their choice. You can tell somebody, hey, I really don't think smoking is a good idea. I don't think you should start smoking. In my opinion, that would harm you and others who are breathing that stuff. But if you start smoking, that's your life. I'm not going to treat you any different as a person just because you choose to make that, unless you do something that harms me. The moment you do something that affects me in a harmful way, that's the moment I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to say, no, if you want to smoke, fine, smoke, but not nowhere near me. You can smoke outside, you can smoke in designated places, but that's where I draw the line, right? But Jehovah's Witnesses don't draw that line when things are harmful. They draw the line where things are sinful. And most religions do as well. And that's the challenge, because most people come up with this idea of what is sinful and what is not sinful, and they have a different interpretation of what that means. And they're enslaved to that idea, enslaved. And JWs are obviously not the only ones. There are many different religions, and they all have different definitions of what is sinful. You look at Jewish people, and they have a whole bunch of lists of what is appropriate to do on Sabbath and what is not appropriate to do on Sabbath. They would not press a button. They would not turn on the light. They would not turn on the stove. Some people rip the toilet paper a day before, so they wouldn't do that on Sabbath because that's a sin. It might sound silly for somebody who was never a Jew, but for those who are raised in that culture, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And they're fearful to break those rules, even though sometimes they don't believe everything, or they want to leave that religion, and it takes them a while to clear from that. So the title of this talk is, Are Jehovah's Witnesses Afraid of Freedom? Because it sounds weird. How can somebody be afraid of freedom? But see, the truth is, we all are afraid of freedom. Why? Because for thousands and thousands of years, living in a tribe equaled safety. Living in a tribe equaled safety. And the moment you leave your tribe, that basically meant death. And our subconscious mind was programmed into that belief so strongly that that fear of being rejected by a tribe or separating yourself from the tribe, fear of abandonment, was linked to death. Because the moment you leave your tribe and you go on your own, there was a bear or a tiger or a lion, whatever, that would eat you. Or somebody else from another tribe will see you and use their spear to kill you because they thought you were a traitor. Snooping around, spy. So your chances of survival increase tremendously if you stick with a tribe. And in the tribe, you had to do everything that the tribe was doing. You couldn't possibly create your own tribe within the tribe. No, if you want to create another tribe, you had to go outside and create another tribe. So it has been like this for thousands of years. And at the same time, if anybody questioned the authority, guess what happened to them? You question the king, you're dead. You question the priest, we have a little place in the middle of time when we burn witches, right? I mean, the people were facing torture, imprisonment, cutting off their heads. I mean, horrible things, absolutely horrible things, simply for questioning authority. Today is the only time in the history that is allowed, and the consequences are very minor. I mean, I was just listening to the news an hour ago, and I heard that people were imprisoned for criticizing United States government, and I'm like, that I didn't think that would happen. But they were not allowed to enter because they posted something on Facebook. I'm like, whoa, we're going backwards here. Seriously. But right now, truthfully, there is no dangers as it used to be, where the government would simply kill you, torture you, burn you, or whatever, simply for disagreeing with their policy. And yet that was the reality for a very long time. But that fear is there. See, what is fear? Fear is extremely important. Fear, the purpose of fear is to keep us alive. That's why you need fear. If you were not fearful of heights, if you were not fearful even of loud noises, chances are you would be in big trouble or you would die. That fear of abandonment was important and it served us for a very long time. You're with your tribe. These are the people that will protect you, and you protect the people from your tribe. We have a better chances of survival. But the fear of criticizing or leaving the tribe was really high. Now it's not. It shouldn't be. It's not rational anymore. We're not going to be eaten by a lion or a bear. At least most of us don't have to worry about that. And if somebody leaves a certain group, these people, what is it the worst they're going to do? Are they going to kill you? Are they going to torture you? Are they going to put you in prison? Chances are that maybe they'll stop talking to you. And that's the case in many cults, including Jehovah's Witnesses, that would just cut the family or the friends or whoever is questioning the authority of Jehovah's Witnesses and say, no, you're an apostate. They'll label you and that's it. We're done. But truthfully, that's all what I can do. That's all what they can do. They cannot do more. So now we got to figure it out. What is it about them that keeps them so indoctrinated so strongly that they're even afraid of looking at so-called apostate material, talking to somebody else about their doubts? Because I had that fear too. So what is it? Well, Jehovah's Witnesses linked obedience with survival. They basically said, okay, if you want to survive Armageddon, which is coming any day soon, it's just around the corner. That's another story. But people believe it. They watching the news and they think, oh yeah, we're going to hear of wars and we're going to hear about pestilences and we're going to hear about the earthquakes. And every time they hear anything that matches that description, it's a trigger for them. And they're thinking, yes, we are definitely living in the last days. Not much time left. And in order for me to survive, I need to be obedient. It's not faith that will save you. It's not the love that will save you. It's basically obedience to the governing body, right? That's basically what they're keep reassuring people all the time. So these people are afraid. Simply, they're afraid of being free because for them, freedom means death. Your mind, your subconscious mind will do whatever it takes to protect you. That's how it's programmed. If something means death, I want to go the opposite direction. So if they linked obedience to the governing body with life and disobedience with death, then guess what happens? People, they realize, oh, the doctrines are wrong. They left Jehovah's Witnesses. Sometimes decades later, they hear, oh, a war is happening. Maybe Jehovah's Witnesses are right. And they go back because the fear is still there. They're afraid of being free. When you're free, you not only have to take responsibility for your own actions, but for them, it meant death. But once you realize that's not true, once you realize that all the doctrines, you no longer believe this, then you go to totally different space in your head, because you might free yourself from the false doctrines, from lots of habits or going to service. But what is it you replace it with? Very often, people don't know what to replace this with. We were spending a lot of time, meetings, preparation, reading all the books, watching them broadcasts, standing on the street corner, going door to door, conventions, assemblies, and all that stuff took a lot of our time. And if you remove all this, then at the beginning you're like, yes, I'm free, I do whatever I want. And very quickly they go through this feeling of, you know what, yeah, okay, I'm free, but I'm miserable. I'm free, but I don't have any friends. I'm free, but nobody cares about me. I'm free, but I don't have any purpose in life. I'm free, I can do whatever I want, but it all seems empty. It all seems meaningless. Some people say, I wish I never woke up. I was happier being ignorant. I had my family, I had my friends, I had my tribe, I had a purpose. I didn't care going door to door or whatever. Even if I was not effective, it didn't matter to me. I enjoyed it. Go preaching for 15 minutes and we spent, coffee shop for 2 hours talking to my friends. I enjoyed that. Big deal. And now they can't replace it with anything better. And now they feel lost. They feel lonely. They feel like there is no purpose in their life. They can't handle that freedom. See, freedom in itself, it's great, but it's only the first step. If you don't have a purpose in life, if you don't put something in you, in your heart, that this is what you want to do, you might be lost, and you might be lost for a long time. So, should we be afraid of freedom? That's the question here. You leave and we're like, well, I don't know. Well, I tell you what. The very first thing that starts, it starts with accountability. That's what freedom gives us. Accountability for your own actions. The moment you start feeling, hey, you know what? I will take charge of my life. It was my decision to be a Jehovah's Witness. I don't care if you got baptized at the age of 8. The moment you move out of your parents' home, and the moment you are independent from their influence, and you continue going to service and meetings and identify yourself to everybody as a Jehovah's Witness, you are making a decision every day to be a witness until you say no more. Just like when you're married, you're not married only because you made that decision one day. That decision carries with you for all the days until you decide to divorce the person. So it's the same thing with witnesses. For as long as we are witnesses and identify as such, then that is our decision. And we take it into our hand and we say, yes, this is my decision. This is my life. Great. If you blame somebody else, all the power is gone. You're not free. See, a lot of witnesses, when they leave, the blame game starts. And when the blame game starts, you're not truly free. It's like you divorce somebody, but all what you do is constantly looking at your ex, trying to figure it out how many times they cheated on you, how many times they lied to you, how many times they told you, oh, I'm going to this conference, and then you find out, oh no, they were not going to conference, they were going to see that girl. And then you find out about one girl, and then another one, and then the third one. You know what? There's a moment when you say enough is enough. I don't want to be in this relationship. If there were 3 girls I didn't know about, there's probably 7. So you know what? Forget it. Forget it. I'm free. And like, you close this chapter and you move on. And now when you make decisions, you should never make decisions thinking that your decision will somehow show or prove something to Jehovah's Witnesses. That is a really bad space. That means you're still attached to them. So I've seen people putting, let's say, a tattoo on their arm. I got nothing against tattoos, but they would make a watchtower, a tattoo of a watchtower, and the tower is crumbling, and that you see cracks on it or falling. I'm thinking, do you really want to see that for the rest of your life? Do you really want to be reminded of Jehovah's Witnesses and that watchtower every single day for the rest of your life? See, if you want to put a tattoo, grow long hair, I don't know, smoke or whatever it is that they told you not to, do it because that's what you want to do. Don't do it because you want to prove something to them. If you want to prove something to them, you're still attached to it. You're not free. That is a key over here. You take control over your life the moment you say, you know what, I'm making decisions because that's what I want. Not to prove something to somebody else, not to blame somebody, not to show that, oh, I can do this and you were not allowing me to do it before. It doesn't make sense. See, Jehovah's Witnesses, very often they stay at the age of 12 to 13 when it comes to their development. What do I mean by that? Well, when you are at the age of 12, almost everything until that moment, your parents are controlling. Your parents are telling you what to do, what not to do, what school to go to, where we're going to go on vacation, who you should be your friend or not. Like majority, like 99% of your life is being controlled by your parents. They provide for you and they protect you, and you should listen to them. Absolutely. But there's a moment when you become a teenager, and guess what? You start questioning their authority. You start saying, you know what? Maybe I should not be listening here. And they'll tell you, oh, you know what? You should not smoke. You should not drink, until you're at age. And you're a kid. You just want to experiment. Maybe you go behind the school and The kids start doing that, right? They start smoking a little bit, or they try alcohol, right? And they break rules. They start going against their parents' rules, and they become rebellious. And throughout that rebellion, they start learning. They start facing the consequences of their own actions. And because of it, they start growing up. They're learning not only about the whole world, but they're learning about themselves. They're learning about what they like, what they don't like, what's advantageous for them, what's not. And through that rebellion, eventually they're gonna say, you know what, I starting to get to know myself. I know what I want, I know what I don't want, and I'm gonna choose a path in my life. Now the problem with JW is it's very often that they don't go through that phase of rebellion. They are so squished that they never even have the guts to question their parents. So they become like a sheep. They constantly follow what they are being told, and they don't know any better because they were never allowed to do anything else. So they carry that on in their own family, and they're doing this to their own kids as well, because the authority is not their parents, the authority is the organization. So you can remove the parents once you go on your own, but the authority of the organization is still there. So then you just become this person who's being manipulated, and then you're passing that on to your kids. But see, what happens very often when an adult witness wakes up, 40, 50 years old, man, and then he starts acting rebellious. He starts acting like a teenager. Why? Because he never went through that process. He never went through the process of rebellion. And he wants to sleep with a whole bunch of girls and try the drugs and try smoking. And he goes on a rock concert and he wants to do everything that he was prohibited from. And now he's trying it on because now he can. And sometimes they get in trouble and they got to pay high price for their freedom. But at the end of the day, I hope that that process of refining yourself and rebellion, it's very short, and then you grow up. And once you grow up, you realize, you know what, it's up to me now. Whatever I do, Jehovah's Witnesses don't care about. They don't care about your decisions. They don't care about your long hair. They don't care who you're sleeping with or whether you're smoking. They don't care about that stuff at all. None. They don't care if you're successful. They don't care if you, as a matter of fact, I'll be honest. The only thing that they would care about is that you're miserable. They want you to be miserable. Majority of them do. The moment you leave them, they don't want you to be happy. They don't want you to be successful. Because the moment that would become true, they would be like, oh, see, their life is better outside of the organization than the one I have. They were miserable when they were witnesses. Now they're super happy. That doesn't add up. No, they prefer that you were happy as a witness, at least to them, and then you were miserable when you left. And then if you return, they will take that person, they will put him in the middle of a convention with thousands of people and say, see, the guy that's during their interview, he would tell you how awful he was. And the world is just not a nice place. And he was lied to and cheated to, and there's no better life than in the organization. So they want you to be miserable. Some people admitted to me that they had people in the congregation praying, okay, that their life will be miserable because they left. And they were hoping that if their life is miserable, then they would come back and return to the organization, including my own family. As sad as it is, my own family was hoping. One of my sisters says, I hope that he gets kicked in the ass from life so bad that he will realize what he's doing and he will return. We had a really rough time leaving the organization, really rough time. Not only because of the indoctrination, but because there was a whole bunch of things that were happening in our life. When my mother-in-law had a stroke and she was handicapped, and although my father-in-law was taking care of her, he had a stroke, and then he was handicapped, and then we had to take care of two of them. And then we had a phone call. My daughter had a tumor and she had to go through an operation. That in itself will put you through such a stress, you won't be able to sleep. But then my wife had a phone call. We had phone calls from doctors every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. We were like, okay, we're not even listening to doctors because it's my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my daughter, and we're like, okay, what else? And then they're like, no, it's about your wife. Your wife has something. We have to check. Maybe she has cancer. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, you got to go to the hospital like right away. We're like, that's tough. And we go and they say, oh, listen, it's actually not that. Your wife's pregnant. And we're like, what? That seems impossible, but I believe you. And said, well, the reason why we thought it's something else is because where it's growing, it's how it looks. I'm like, yeah, that does not look like a baby. Like, no, it's not normal. And if it survives, it will never be normal. Like, and I tell you, every time I think of that time where I couldn't sleep anymore, I was so stressed out of my mind. And for your own family members, hoping that will only happen and the worst things will happen to you so you can, wake up and return to the organization. How can you be friends with somebody who does not wish you well? How can you be friends with people who want misery for your life? It's impossible. It's impossible. So you might feel that, oh, you know what? This whole shunning is really hard and I wish it didn't happen. I wish the shunning was not part of their policy. But in a way, it's such a blessing. I'm telling you. Why? Because they cut you off and now there is room in your life. They made room. They made room for people who will actually cherish you. They will make room for people who will love you for who you are, not for what type of a Jehovah's Witness you are. They made room so you can grow because previously you could only grow as a witness. They will never appreciate any of your successes. If you had any success as a witness, they would always be like, oh, okay. And you're like, what? I worked so hard on achieving this. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's materialistic thinking. You get criticized for being successful, for achieving something of value. You were punished for it. And if you're miserable, oh yeah, that is brother, oh, bravo, that he endured all this, tough times and persecution, right? If somebody came from Africa, what is that we wanted to know? We wanted to know how miserable life there is. Who had malaria? What kind of a crocodile was in a river? What kind of a tough times these people had to endure in order to serve Jehovah? The worse of a life they had, the more we wanted to hear it. That's the environment. It's not the best life ever. It's the best lie ever. It's crazy what that environment mentally does to you. Now you don't have that anymore. But you know what? You got to retrain this. You got to retrain it because you have to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your environment. You got to take care of your loved ones. And if the people that cut you off, believe me, there's tons of people who are in similar circumstances where the family is still there. And every time they want to build something in their life, the family pulls them down. They're like, well, you think you're better than us? Family, love your family, choose your friends. Love your family, choose your peer group. Your peer group will have enormous influence on you. And I know we had previously a spiritual family in the congregation, as they say, but it's time to upgrade this. It's time to upgrade to what I call a chosen family. You choose who you want to be with. Previously, you moved from one town to another town, you joined the congregation, and these people had to be your friends. Whether you wanted or not, you would see them at least twice a week, if not more. So by proximity, this is your tribe. But now you get to choose. If you don't like somebody, you don't have to spend time with them. If you have a lot in common with this person, great, that's wonderful. You can build on this. If you don't have too much in common with that person, you don't have to be friends with them. I remember so many times I went for a service arrangement and I'm like, I hope they don't assign me with that guy over there. I know he doesn't like me, and I don't like him either. And then over the sudden, yeah, oh, Jack, you go with that guy. And I'm like, oh, come on now. 2 hours of suffering. But now you get to choose. It's your life. It's your life on your terms. That's the beauty about freedom. That's the beauty about building life on your terms. And you get to do this while they can't. They still have to follow all the rules. And I'm glad the rules are softening a little bit, but they still have a long way to go. You don't have to wait for all those restrictions to collapse one day. I think it will take another maybe generation or two in order for those things to change. But don't wait. You have only one life. Don't be afraid of using your freedom, but find something that is meaningful in your life. Because it's very easy to say, oh, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, but you're acting like a little child, like a 16-year-old kid that ran away from home. No, you're better off choosing a purpose. Stick with it. If you don't like it after a year or two, change it. By all means, that's part of the freedom. But once you choose, okay, I'm going this way, that's what I'm going to build in my life. That's the business I'm going to choose. I'm going to attach myself to somebody else's business because I love that vision. Whatever that you do, stick with it. Keep going. Make sure that what you do makes an impact, improves the quality of your life and for other people. Because the moment you see that what you do creates a better life for others, you will never have regrets. If you do something that you see that it makes no impact on anybody's life, and you keep going just because you have to pay the bills, chances are you're going to go through your life with lots of regrets. You're going to die with dreams. I want you to die with memories. Think about it for a sec. What's better? Guys, if you want to join, you see in comments, there is a link. I'll be very happy if you guys can join and share your story. If not, then I wish you all the best. I hope that you will use your freedom for the good of others, not just to experience pleasure, but experience meaning. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.